Mechanical Engineering. Prakhar Dave, B.Tech Mechanical Engineering, CGPA 9.14. Kaveri Gupta, B.Tech Electrical Engineering. Kaveri Gupta, CGPA 9.08. Apurva Verma. Apurva Verma, B.Tech Electronics and Communication Engineering, CGPA 9.21. Reshma Salim, B.Tech Information Technology, Reshma Salim, CGPA 8.95. Aman Jain, B.Tech Production and Industrial Engineering, Aman Jain, CGPA 9.06. Nikhil Soni, Bachelor of Architecture. Nikhil Soni, Bachelor of Architecture, CGPA 8.29. Kutti Nimisha Nandini, Bachelor of Planning, CGPA 8.42, Gutti Nimisha Nandini. Shagufta Parveen, Shagufta Parveen, Master of Computer Applications, 9.14 CGPA. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, our special achievers. Our students feel privileged to receive the medals from your hands, sir. Blessed are they that receive the blessings from a blessed soul. Thank you, sir, for motivating our students in a special way. May I request our esteemed chief guest, Professor M.S. Anant, to please release the souvenir. The souvenir has been released. A big round of applause. Thank you, sir. I request our Honorable Director, Professor Appukuttan KK, to present a memento, a gesture of our regard and affection to our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor M.S. Anant. Sir, this is a token of our regard and affection. I request Dean Academics, Professor Ganga Agnihotri, to please present a memento to our Chairman, Manet Professor G.K. Mehta. I request Controller of Exams, Professor M.M. Malik, to please present a memento to our Honorable Director, Manet Professor Appukuttan KK. Nothing in life is more precious than the exchange of gratitude and affection. I request all the degree recipients today to please stand and take the pledge in their hand. Now I request our Honorable Chairman, Dr. G.K. Mehta, to please read out the pledge, and the degree awardees are requested to please repeat. After I, please call out your name. All the degree recipients today, please stand in honor of the pledge.
I, graduate, postgraduate PhD of the Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology, Bhopal, hereby pledge that I shall always endeavor to be conscientious in the discharge of my duties, stand up to my responsibilities, uphold the ethics and integrity of my profession. In this spirit, I resolve to preserve the prestige and pride of my alma mater. In my profession, diversity is a blessing and each new experience is an opportunity to achieve perfection. I pledge to represent my profession to the world in such a way that speaks of my identity as a graduate of a professionally and culturally rich institute. I pledge that I shall utilize the technical knowledge acquired by me for the betterment of society and advancement of my country with innovation and progressive vision.
Thank you, sir. You are requested to maintain the decorum of the function. Kindly be seated. Kindly be seated. Congratulations, all the degree recipients. The future lies before you, like a field of driven snow. Be careful how you tread it, for every step will show. Someone has rightly said, I hope you will uphold the spirit of your pledge. Let us now record and register the names of worthy citizens, budding technocrats and managers in the annals of Manit. I invite the Controller of Exams, Professor Malik, to please bring the register on the dais for the signatures of our Honorable Chairman, Dr. G.K. Mehta. Thank you, sir. We are honored by the gracious presence of our Honorable Chairman, Dr. G.K. Mehta, Honorary Eminent Scientist, Inter-University Accelerator Center, New Delhi, Distinguished Honorary Professor, IIT Kanpur, former Director, Nuclear Science Center, New Delhi, former Vice Chancellor, Allahabad University. A few of the many awards conferred upon him are the Best R&D Man, Award of National Foundation of Indian Engineers, 1995. He was crowned with the Homi J. Bhabha Award for Research in Applied Sciences in 1996. Lifetime Achievement Award for Excellence in Applied Physics, 2010. May I request him to please deliver the presidential address? Honorable Chairman, sir.
Distinguished Chief Guest Professor Anand, Honorable Members of the Board of Governors, Director Dr. Appu Kuttan, esteemed faculty members, staff members, dear students, their parents and other family members, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I extend a hearty welcome to the Chief Guest and all of you present here and congratulate all the students graduating today particularly those who have been specially recognized. Convocation is really a very, very special occasion. I recall the first convocation of IIT Kanpur, which was addressed by Professor Radhakrishnan. That day is remembered by student and his faculty always. The occasion actually marks a transition. Some people are getting BTech degree, some people are getting MTech degree, some people are getting PhD degree. But each one of this actually is a transition state. In Sanskrit, we call this occasion Dikshant Samaro. Dikshant Samaro. It is not ant of anything. It's actually transition period. You have been given Diksha about one particular thing, now you're going to use it to do something outstanding for your alma mater. I remember during my days there used to be subjects like physics, chemistry, mathematics and so on. Then came this idea that we should have science-based engineering education. IIT started this. Now things have changed. So many things are being done in engineering that what one needs is engineering-based science education, and then one has to see that one has to mix the two together. In fact, in 2000, it is predicted by a world agency that by 2025, our country will be the knowledge-producing center of the world. Sounds very interesting. But then another world agency 3 years ago came out with some kind of a revelation which we have to be very careful about. It analyzed students of all the countries. I am only going to quote about our own country. It says, Indian students are the brightest of all. They are very smart. They can really understand things very easily. But they will not touch a thing if it is not connected with the examinations. So their knowledge is very superficial. This is how it ended. Now we have to really change this. If we are going to really contribute something, if we are really going to be called as a knowledge-producing center of the world, we really have to see what we can do so that we can remove this kind of impression which exists everywhere. How one can do this? We have to be vigilant. I know arrangements are being made so that you can go to the industry, interact with people. But I think what is required, which we keep talking about, a multidisciplinary approach. We have to make sure that people talk to all other discipline people and we do things together. In fact, you might have heard of this. There's a tremendous worry in our country about this, that how we really make our students innovative. We keep talking about it. People are getting desperate about it. We know our own institution, MANIT, they are worried about it. And they are desperate to do something which is clear. If you see, the departments, they suddenly change their names. 2 departments, they mix together. So this may look something like a crazy thing which is happening, but there is always something positive in what goes on. This is an indication now that we have to plan our institution in a multidisciplinary fashion. In the country, they are talking about a meta-university. How can we give a freedom to a student? He can choose his own courses. It can be in different departments. Now there are talks that different universities can get together to develop something where people can excel by doing this. Well, with these few words, I once again congratulate all the graduating students, their parents and other family members, and wish the students a great future ahead of them. Let your journey from now bring glory to this great country of ours. Hope that you will nurture a lifelong relationship with your alma mater. Make your alma mater proud of your actions. That is the Guru Dakshina you can pledge on the occasion of this convocation. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Words gain value when used in the right context. My humble vocabulary takes pride in presenting a short introduction to our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor M.S. Ananth, who is an inspiration in himself. Professor M.S. Ananth graduated from Alagappa College of Technology with a gold medal in chemical engineering. He obtained his master's and doctorate degree in the area of molecular thermodynamics from University of Florida. He joined Indian Institute of Technology, Madras in 1972. In 2001, he was appointed as the director of IIT Madras. He headed the institute with distinction. His magnus opus is the IIT Madras Research Park, an outlet for harnessing the intellectual energy of the youngsters. Professor Ananth started the National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning, NPTEL, which allows students anywhere the access to recorded lectures in several subjects. His illustrious career was marked by several visiting appointments. To name a few of them, Dr. Ananth was a visiting professor in Princeton University and in the University of Colorado. He was a visiting scientist in the National Institute of Standards and Technology, Colorado. He was a visiting scientist in RWTH, Aachen, Germany, and a visiting thermodynamics expert in Aspen Tech, Massachusetts, USA. He has been crowned with the Herdelia Prize for Excellence in Basic Research in Chemical Engineering by the IICHE 1994 and the R.W. Fine Alumni Award for Distinguished Professional Contributions for the year 2003 by the Chemical Engineering Department of University of Florida, USA. May I invite our esteemed chief guest, Professor Ananth, for the convocation address, please.
Chairman Dr. Mehta, Director Dr. Appukutan, dignitaries on stage, off stage, my fellow teachers, dear graduates, dear parents, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed an honor to be here at this, the 9th convocation of MANIT. I want to first of all congratulate all the successful graduates for completing their programs of study. And I want to wish them all the best in the future. I want to congratulate the director and the colleagues and his colleagues for having guided these students through what I would say are formative years. Because students today will disagree. They think formative years are much younger. But it's actually this age that's really the formative age of your life. I want to talk to you today a little bit about education. You might say, I've already had it, why do you want to talk about it? But let me try and give you some perspective. The second is I would like to talk a little bit about the great patriot after whom this institute is named. It's been my experience that the present generation often forgets that we got independence after a great effort and there were many people who were responsible for it. And talking to our own students, they seem to know Nehru and Gandhi and very few others. So I'd like to say a few words about the great Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Let me start by talking about education. Education has three well-defined components. One is the knowledge component, the second is the know-how component, the third is the character component. The knowledge component helps you learn what you are taught in relation to what you already know. That's done very systematically in all the institutions through courses. The second component is the know-how component. It relates to putting knowledge to purposeful use. And this is much harder to do. And the university is not really competent to do this. What the university does is teach you how knowledge was applied in the past. One hopes that when you go out to the industry, you will use this information to apply new empirical knowledge to very novel applications. The third component is the character component. While everyone recognizes good character traits, it's very difficult to actually have a systematic way of developing character in students. What we faculty and administrators do is to give you a conduct certificate and hope that you conduct yourself very well and make us proud. Luckily, most of you do. Let me talk a little bit about learning. While you've done a lot of studying, I don't know if many of you know about the split brain experiments. Sperry got his Nobel Prize in 1981. He was a neurosurgeon, and they worked on accident victims. They came to the following conclusions. I'm giving you an oversimplified summary. They said the human brain has two parts, the left brain and the right brain. The left brain is logical, good with words, and good with step-by-step reasoning. The right brain, on the other hand, is musical, imaginative, and thinks in terms of pictures. The right brain is illiterate. So if you had an accident and your left brain was damaged, you will not be able to speak. In nature, however, there is redundancy. After a few months, the right brain will learn the job of the left brain, and therefore it will learn to talk. The reason I mention this is because Sperry and co-workers also came up with steps in learning and creativity. And some of these steps are very important. They can't be taught. I think you should carry them with you. The first step is actually called data gathering, in which the student or whoever it is gathers data with their left brain. This could be data in all forms, not just listening to the teacher. The second and the third steps are called incubation and enlightenment steps. The incubation step is when the right brain tries to make a whole picture out of all the observations, of everything that you have gathered. The third step is called the enlightenment step. Let me tell you corollaries to this. First thing is, I tell my colleagues, don't bother if the student is not listening in class. His left brain is anyway collecting the data. Actually, that is true. Most of you, when you study for exams, often talk about why the teacher went on and on about something, although you are not listening in class. That's because your left brain collected that data. The second and the third steps, the right brain steps, are not well understood, but it's an intuitive thing. You know, if Sachin Tendulkar were to use Newton's laws to calculate where the ball is going and he wants to hit it after that, he'll be bowled all the time. He hits the ball intuitively. So you must know that in all complex problems, you actually have an intuitive feel for the answer. You can develop one, and you should encourage it. In fact, it is the synergy between the left and the right brains that's the real reason for creativity. It's the lack of logic of the right brain that makes it creative in terms of generating a large number of ideas. But most ideas are wrong. So you need verification by the left brain, which has an equal role in creativity. The reason I mention this is because as you go out into the world, you will realize that university education has given you training in logic. That's the only thing we can do. We can only train your left brain. Your right brain is still in your hands, and you have to use your intuition all the time. My recommendation in any complex situation is to guess the answer. Put it down and then work out the answer logically and see if your logic confirms your intuition. I can assure you it's repeated confirmation of intuition by logic that will give you self-confidence. And ultimately, what you need in life is self-confidence. So my recommendation is, please nurture your right brain and make sure that you confirm your logic, your intuition, by using your own logic. Character is the most important part of education. And you might say, it's characteristic of old people to tell you that. But anyway, even if you don't believe me now, 20 years from now, you'll start believing it. But let me say a few words about how character is built. At least it's been built in India. The way character is built is to give students some sense of values, not just students, all young people, a sense of values. And how are values incorporated? They are done actually by informal structures of learning. I can't come and lecture to you and hope you will pick up values. What happens is there are informal structures of learning that have mediated this learning of values. They are mostly based on scriptures, religious texts and so on, but primarily there have been three of them. The first one, and I'm not going back and regretting the fact that these structures are disappearing, I'm just describing it to you. The first structure was the joint family. And the way the joint family worked because parents are always busy, grandparents had time. And a grandparent telling you stories from mythology gives you a very good sense of value about rights and wrongs. I mean, it's not the same thing reading Amar Chitra Katha or any other book of that kind. I think that unfortunately has broken down for economic reasons. The second was discourses. There were discourses about fight between evil and good and the victory of good over evil. These discourses were repeated again and again, and I must tell you the importance of repetition. First of all, your teachers repeat themselves normally 3 times. We come to class and tell you what we are going to tell you, then we tell you what we told you, because we need some continuity. It's even better than that. In most religions, you're asked to repeat yourself more times. I'll tell you a small anecdote. When I first went to the US, a professor dragged me off to listen to a pastor. And this pastor spoke very well, but he repeated himself 7 times. So I went up to him at the end of the talk and said, "Why did you repeat yourself 7 times? He said, "Gee, did I do that? Then I did right, because in the school of pastors they tell me only 1/7 of the congregation is listening at any time." So I think it's simply a matter of whether you're receptive to messages or not. So it's the duty of the messenger to repeat the message several times. I think this has been lost now. The discourses are not so frequent because people are afraid that young people will call them bores. My own advice to my colleagues is, it doesn't matter if they call you bores. You may actually be a bore. It still doesn't matter. The message is more important than the messenger. So we have to deliver the message. And I think this is important. So the third way in which this sense of values was communicated to people, young people, was through the practical decisions of the panchayat, not the panchayati raj. The panchayati raj has become very bureaucratic. The old panchayats used to work in a way that 5 wise people in the village were chosen to decide whether somebody was guilty and what punishment should be given. And the punishment in earlier times, 250 years ago, was not a jail sentence, because I think we realized that jails are expensive to maintain, especially jails like the Tihar jail, if you like. But so what you do is to give them social work and make them do this. And this worked beautifully because there was a certain trust that the people who judged you were fair. All these have disappeared. The British, in their colonial rule, introduced law as a way of enforcing values. But law is a technicality. With due respect to all the lawyers, it's simply a matter of who has the better lawyer when you have a court case. So I think it doesn't teach you values. So we have a serious question about how one acquires these values. What I have to say is that I think one way to build character is to study carefully the inspiring lives of our great leaders. And at the time of independence, we had many, many of them. One of them is Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, after whom your institute is named. I thought, at the risk of carrying coal to Newcastle, I would come and tell you about Maulana himself. See, Maulana Azad was a patriot, a freedom fighter, and an Oriental scholar. He was large. Incidentally, Azad was a name he gave himself because he was fighting for freedom. Maulana was a title others gave him. His actual name was Abul Kalam, which is what his parents called him. But he was largely responsible for organizing and energizing the Muslims into a formidable opposition against the British colonial government. He was very proud of India. And I'll just conclude. Before I conclude, I'll tell you a few reasons why I think you people should also be proud of India, in spite of all the news that you read in the papers. In his first address as the President of the Indian National Congress in 1940, he said, it was India's historic destiny that many human races and cultures and religions should flow to her, finding a home in her hospitable soil, and that many a caravan should find its rest here. One of the last of these caravans was that of the followers of Islam. Full 11 centuries have passed since then and produced a new synthesis. He went on to say why both Muslims and Hindus together should fight for freedom of India. After independence, he was the natural choice for the first education minister. From 1947 to 58, he was the Minister for Education, the present MHRD, the equivalent of it. He established the University Grants Commission in 1948, the Indian Council for Cultural Relations in 1950, and the Secondary Education Commission in 1952. For those of you who may be familiar, these institutions still exist. He conceived of the three academies, the Sahitya Academy, the Lalit Kala Academy, and the Sangeet Natak Academy, in order to promote art, music, and literature. He assisted Pandit Nehru in setting up the Indian Council of Scientific Research and established many of its laboratories. He was convinced that both the center and the state should share responsibility for education. He set up the University Education Commission in 1948. He believed that universal education alone could lead to societal cohesion. Today, his birthday, November 11th, is actually been declared the National Education Day. Both Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Nehru were close friends of the Maulana and described him in glorious terms. Mahatma Gandhi said he described him as the most forceful, truthful, and fearless satyagrahi and fighter against oppression and injustice that I have come across. Pandit Nehru said, he always reminded me of the great men about whom I have read in history, the great men of the Renaissance, or in a later period, the encyclopedists who preceded the French Revolution. Men of intellect and men of action. It was strange and unique combination of the good qualities of the past, the graciousness, the deep learning and the tolerance, and the urges of today that made Maulana Azad what he was. The ICCR has a Maulana Azad Memorial Lecture in Delhi, and one of these lectures in 2009 was given by Martin Luther King. He said, you don't have to look far to find the beautiful legacy of peaceful coexistence, reconciliation, and unity left by the likes of Maulana Azad. Note the order. He said Maulana Azad, Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Mother Teresa. These great souls are truly gifts to all the people of the world from Mother India. I think it's important that we don't forget them. I want to add a few words about why I think young people today should still be proud of India. The first point is that ours is the only country that got independence by completely non-violent means. And Mahatma Gandhi suggested that you need only three qualities. He suggested an emphasis on non-violence, which is not just absence of violence. It's actually absence of hatred for fellow human beings. Secondly, he said truthfulness, and he said thirdly, fearlessness. He said fearlessness follows from truthfulness. I think these are remarkable qualities that we had a tradition of following for many years. Even after independence, what have we done? We had 5 important debates. I'll at least talk about a few of them. The first debate was, should we be a democracy or a totalitarian government? And we chose the democratic government. We decided not to have a totalitarian government, although the Congress at that time could have asked for one. A second debate was defense versus development. They said, you're a poor country, you should spend on development, not on defense. But in a world of nations, you have to protect your borders. And I think both are important. And we spent money on both. If you think we haven't spent enough, you should really read the data from the Manorama yearbook, if you like. You will read about the 5 plans, you will read about the investments that have gone on. You know it's difficult to run a democracy of 1.2 billion people, but we chose it because it was the right thing to do. Then there was central government versus federalization. That is, should the states become important? We chose to have a center in the beginning and then go on to freedom for states subsequently. We are progressing in that direction. You can also ask about every question. You can ask, did we do the right thing? And in every case you will find that we did what was the right thing, not what was easy to do. In addition to that, there are 3 revolutions that you must be aware of that we have brought about in a democratic fashion. The first is the Green Revolution, by which we became self-sufficient in food. The second is the Brown Revolution, by which we became self-sufficient in oil seeds. We used to import them in huge quantities. The third is the white revolution. Dr. Kurian passed away recently, but because of the white revolution, we became the largest producers of milk in the world. I think these are not easy to achieve. And if you look at concrete instances, again, if you look at defense, if you look at atomic energy, you look at space, our achievements are second to none. In fact, per unit of investment, our achievements are the highest. I think these are all reasons why you should be proud of the Indian thing. And if you look at the news and you find it very depressing, remember, it's still many of the things that are reported in the news are in the news because bulk of society thinks they are wrong. That means we are safe. The bulk of society still has right values. And I think it's important that you carry these values forward. I hope you, as the graduates of this great institute, show the character needed, exactly like Maulana Abul Kalam Azad did, to take India to her rightful place in the Committee of Nations. I want to wish you all the very best in your endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your very powerful words on education, highlighting the importance of character and ethics. Sir, your words remind me of Albert Einstein's claim, who said that he thought visually than verbally. Thank you, sir. I now invite Controller of Exams, Professor M.M. Malik, sir, to propose a vote of thanks.
Chief guest of today's function, Professor M.S. Anant, former Director IIT Madras and visiting Professor ISC Bangalore, Professor G.K. Mehta, Chairman BOG MANIT, Professor Apukuttan K.K., Director MANIT, Professor Ganga Agnihotri, Dean Academic, distinguished members of Board of Governors MANIT, Senate members, all deans, heads of the departments, my fellow colleagues, students, parents, all the distinguished guests, representatives of media, ladies and gentlemen. It's really my proud privilege to propose heartfelt, sincere thanks at the end of this auspicious ceremony, the 9th convocation of MANIT Bhopal. I express my sincere gratitude to esteemed, reverend and renowned Professor Dr. M.S. Anant, former Director IIT Madras and currently visiting Professor ISC Bangalore, for gracing the occasion as the chief guest of this ceremony. His thought-provoking address has enlightened and motivated the august gathering, sir. Sir, I hope that the graduating students shall aptly establish the relationship between learning and creativity to take the nation to greater heights. Sir, Dr. G.K. Mehta, Chairman BOG MANIT, distinguished professor and eminent scientist, has to his credit the state-of-art R&D labs with nuclear accelerators of different kinds in India. We owe our earnest gratitude, sir, for your affection, encouragement and support at every step in our endeavors. I am sure that with your blessings, the Institute shall produce technocrats and scientists of high caliber who can bring laurels to the Institute and nation. My sincere thanks are also due to our Director, Professor Apukuttan K.K., who is a constant source of inspiration and has lent his untiring support at the time of need. In his dynamic and visionary leadership, the Institute is achieving new heights. I personally feel indebted for his advice, encouragement and interest throughout the process of organization of this prestigious event. My thanks are also due to Dr. Ganga Agnihotri, Dean Academic, for her support, valuable suggestions, and encouragement. I express my thanks to distinguished members of Board of Governors, MNIT, for sparing their valuable time to grace the occasion, sir. The support of all deans, head of the departments, Senate members is also highly appreciated. My gratitude goes to all coordinators, conveners, and members of organizing committee, volunteers, student council, and supporting staff for their continual help and support. This day would have been meaningless without the presence of our graduating students. All of them have worked hard and rightly deserve to cherish this moment. On behalf of MNIT family, I congratulate each one of them and wish them good luck for their future endeavors. I take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks to parents of our most valued graduating students who have come all the way from different destinations to attend this function. The faculty, staff members, and my core team members of COE deserves a loud applause for meticulous planning and execution for making this event a grand success. I especially and personally thank each and every individual from the core of my heart, as this would not have been possible without their initiatives and unconditional support. We are very thankful to Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, Governor of Madhya Pradesh, and Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh for their blessings and support. Media always strengthens in continual search for institutional regeneration and excellence. We owe our special gratitude to the representatives of electronic and print media for acknowledging our efforts and giving a wide coverage to this ceremony. I express my sincere thanks to Almighty God for blessing us in making this ceremony a success. And last but not the least, I personally thank each and everyone who has directly or indirectly worked tirelessly for the success of this event. Once again, thanks to one and all. Thank you.
May I now request our Honorable Chairman, Dr. G.K. Mehta, to please declare the closing of the convocation ceremony.
I declare the 9th convocation of Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology, Bhopal, closed.
Our budding technocrats and managers, you are educated. Your certification is in your degree. You may think of it as a ticket to good life. Let me ask you to think of an alternative. Think of it as your ticket to change the world. Congratulations once again. I request everybody to stand for the national anthem, please.
भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंग विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंग तव शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तब जय गाथा। जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे, भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे, जय हे, जय 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 जय।
The august gathering is invited to lunch outside. Now the convocation procession leaves. Please, kindly sit. Let the convocation procession leave, please. Let the convocation procession leave. With these golden moments and our best wishes, we bid you goodbye, worthy technocrats, worthy managers, and above all, worthy citizens. Embark on the road ahead. Empower yourself and empower the society, and herald an era of eco-tech compatibility where there is absolute peace and prosperity. Absolute peace and prosperity.
जाके बात करनी पड़ेगी।
Hello, check, hello.